You're listening to Real Folk with me, Jo Burke. Welcome to the final episode of Real Folk with Jo Burke for this year, 2025. And what better way to finish than with Marc Burrows and his latest book, which is all about Christmas. Yay! My favourite time of year. It is called Christmas, The Story of Christmas Number Ones, Mistletoe and Vinyl. Brilliant title. He is also a comedian, a critic and a musician. So welcome, Marc Burrows. How are you?
Hello. Yeah, it is a good title, isn't it? I mean, it was originally going to be called Tinsel and Fire, the story of the Christmas number one, as in Eyes Full of Tinsel and Fire, which is a line from Greg Lake's I Believe It's Father Christmas. But genuinely, and this is actually true, my publisher thought that might might give us like a health and safety risk by calling it Tinsel and Fire.
That people should set fire to their tinsel.
Yeah, they were like, no, it could cause problems for us. So yeah, we had to brainstorm a new title, which is how I came up with Mistletoe and Vinyl.
I love it.
I still regret not having the original title because I liked that one.
Also, it sounds quite Game of Thronesy, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, and that's what I liked. I've always loved that idea. I've always loved that lyric, "Eyes Full of Tinsel and Fire," because I love that song. Greg Lake's "I Believe It's Father Christmas." It's just a wonderful song. But yeah, it does have it feels quite mythic, and Christmas number one is a myth. I wanted to like the book is about the myth of Christmas number one, and rather than just kind of a collection of nostalgic stories about songs, it's about the whole thing. And so yeah, it seemed to work, but alas.
Fabulous. So I need to find out more about this book. As I said, Christmas is one of my favourite times of year for so many reasons, not least all the Christmas chart toppers, and some are awful, some are amazing. And so what is the actual book?
It's literally the story of Christmas number one, because there's a difference between Christmas music and Christmas number one, obviously. Like Some Christmas number ones are Christmas bangers, Slade, Wham, like insert favourite Christmas banger here. But then you've got Bohemian Rhapsody, and you've got Don't You Want Me by the Human League, and you've got Sound of the Underground by Girls Aloud, and then you've got the awful novelty songs, and you've got Mr. Blobby, and you've got Bob the Builder, and you've got Lad Baby, and all. So
Grandma.
There's no one quite like Grandma from 1980, that the song that knocked John Lennon off number one the week after John Lennon was shot.
You're kidding! Is that true?
Absolutely true.
Oh,
so I wanted
God.
to. So I started. I've been wanting to write a book about Christmas music for a while. Ever since I sort of started writing books, this is the one I had in my back pocket. This is the one I wanted to do, and I was waiting for the right publisher for it, basically. And then I kind of had this moment where I was thinking about Christmas number one specifically and how British it is, because no other country has it. No other country has made being number one in the chart at Christmas a national sport. Like, it doesn't exist. Every other country has a chart, and most of them have a Christmas, but no one else has Christmas number one. And arguably we don't anymore either. I think it's kind of a zombie now. It's kind of ran its course, but which is the other reason I thought it was a good time to tell the story. So I found that fascinating. Why are we the only country that has it? So I wanted to tell that story, basically. And also, it's kind of like the book is. There's lots of nostalgia stuff. There's lots of jokes. There's the stories of all of these songs, and I cover all of the Christmas number ones, and I cover a lot of the main Christmas songs that you're thinking of, because a lot of them are in the race for the Christmas number ones, where I talk about the races of different years. But also, it's sort of sneakily underneath all that, it's a social history, because if you trace Christmas number one, if you look at who's Christmas number one in every year, 50 years, and what the chart looks like in that year, it tells you an astonishing amount about the
What's
country,
going on
about
in the world.
Britain, about politics and the economy, and which sounds really dry, but it's not. One is a social history of Britain. The reason it kicks off is because 1973, because there's no Christmas number ones before 1973. No one uses the phrase, no one cares about it. You're number one at Christmas, but no one was trying to be Christmas number one, apart from because you sold a lot of records.
So who kicked it off?
Slade. It changes in 1973,
right?
Because 1973 is like a really economically awful year. There's a miners' strike, there's a coal strike, there's power cuts, enforced power cuts to save coal. The electricity is turned off at 10:30 every night. They don't turn the Christmas lights on in Trafalgar Square until Christmas Eve to save electricity.
Wow.
The Prime Minister goes on TV and says it's a state of emergency. We'll have the hardest Christmas we've had since the war. They even considered turning the telly off, apart from on Christmas Day itself, in order to save electricity. And it was a cold, horrible winter, so people were really struggling. And into that, you dropped Slade and Wizard, these two bright, glittery Christmas bauble songs that just are not just sort of soppy Christmas songs. They're not nostalgic. It's not just like the ones we used to know. They're celebrating this very British idea of Christmas. This really, it's party season. Let's have a drink. Let's enjoy ourselves and everything that's good about it. And it really connected with people because they needed it. People needed something to cheer them up. And you might not be able to afford much, but you can afford a 7-inch single.
Yeah.
So suddenly it kind of becomes news. There's a story that's attached to it. People are really into the idea, and getting a Christmas song at number one at Christmas suddenly becomes this thing people want to do. And after that year, that changes everything, because the next year, like, there are 4 songs with Christmas in the title in the top 40 in 1973. There's 2 in 1972. In 1974, there's 18. Like, everything changes the next year because everyone's seen
huge difference.
Yeah, everyone's seen Slade and Wizard and how many records they sold. That Slade song was the fastest selling single of all time for 10 years. It went straight in at number 1, which was almost unheard of back then. And then the next year everyone has a go. Everyone's trying to do it. Every big pop band is doing it. And the next year, Bohemian Rhapsody is Christmas number 1 in 1975. So people go, it doesn't even have to be a Christmas song. But it starts to embed this idea that being number 1 at Christmas makes you the biggest pop band.
Kudos, yeah.
It again kind of gives you the crown of you are the biggest band of the moment. It's kind of a myth. It's not even true. But that's the story that grows up around it. And that's why Simon Cowell makes the X Factor a Christmas number 1, because it crowns you as the biggest pop star. That's why Girls Aloud, the chart battle for that year, had to be a Christmas number 1. And that's why you get to the point, and that it just becomes really important to people. And that's when you get to the point of 2009, when people are so bored of the X Factor, they buy Rage Against the Machine as a protest vote and get Rage Against the Machine to Christmas number 1 just to prove a point, a stubborn point. And it really means something to people. And then, the way the download chart introduction changes what it means to be Christmas number 1. The streaming charts change what it means to be Christmas number 1, because now it's totally different. Like, now we've had the same song at Christmas number 1 for the last 2 years. We've had Wham's Last Christmas, and I think it will be again this year, and probably next year as well. Like, Last Christmas by Wham is the final boss Christmas number 1.
Yeah,
which I'm happy for George Michael about, because he was really bitter about not getting it in 1984 because of Band-Aid. So that's what the book is. The book is it is funny, and there are all the stories and behind all of these songs, but it also traces the story of Christmas music in the UK and why we care about it and what it tells you about what was happening in the country at the time.
It's so interesting. I mean, seriously, who'd have thought that was so politically interesting? I wouldn't have even dreamt it until you've just said all of that. And yet, when you start talking about it, it makes absolute sense. Of course it is. It's a commentary on what's going on each year. And I love the fact that we sort of went up yours to it and got Rage Against the Machine in and have started to mix it up. And I suppose it also, I was just trying to think, I think John Lennon, going back to what you said at the very start, I think he would have been up there laughing his head off at the fact that, did you say grandma would beat him?
Yeah.
And he was dead. And
in a way, Christmas number 1 is John Lennon's fault. Because because there are no cool bands. Cool pop bands didn't do Christmas songs in the 50s and 60s. None of them did. There are no pop, like contemporary pop, big acts that do a Christmas song. The Beatles do a few B-side kind of funny throwaway Christmas songs for fan clubs, but they get 4 Christmas number 1s, but they're all just, I Want to Hold Your Hand and Paperback Writer and stuff. They're just big songs. No one associates them with Christmas. Nobody has a go. They're like the only Christmas songs that chart in the 60s are sort of soppy carols sang by nuns and things. Like, it doesn't, like, there's no, it's not like now where every once in a while, or from the 70s onwards, where a big band will go, I'm going to have a go at a Christmas song. And then John Lennon does it in 1971 with Happy Christmas, War Is Over. Yeah. He makes a conscious decision, because in the 60s and the 70s, if you want to change culture, you have to wait for the Beatles to do it first, basically. And that's what happens. John Lennon writes Happy Christmas, War Is Over in 1971 because he says he's bored of White Christmas and wants to hear a new Christmas song, so writes one himself. And that gives everyone permission. The next year, Slade and Wizard are going, if Lennon can do it, we can do it as well. Elton John thinks the same thing. So it is John Lennon's fault, but then most things in pop music are ultimately the Beatles' fault. Like, you can trace most of these things back to the Beatles or people the Beatles were ripping off. So that that kind of, so yeah, he kind of that maybe that was his penance for starting it, is that he didn't get the Christmas number one in the
Yeah.
year where it would have mattered the most.
Car, but man, it's so you are like an encyclopedia. I mean, it's a shame you can't actually see Mark's lovely face. He's just like all these facts could just come streaming out of his head, and I mean, seriously, it's like I mean, you're better than Google. I mean, I could type on your face and you could answer straight away. It's like, is there nothing you don't know about Christmas number ones and music in general? How long has music been a huge part of your life?
For me, for most of my life, one of the reasons I wanted to write about Christmas music is Christmas music is the first music I remember loving. Like we had the Christmas. I'm 44, right? Like that's this is important context. We had the Christmas album. Now that's what I call music. Christmas album in 1985 when I was like 4 years old, and because when you're a kid, Christmas is the most magical, brilliant thing in the world. It's the most important part of the year, and I loved those songs because they were associated with the most exciting bit of the year, and it kind of started to make this association for me between pop music and between great music and things that make you excited and things that make you feel something. So I think my music obsession starts with Christmas music, and because my parents weren't massive, like huge music fans. They liked them, but my parents were working class people in their early 20s who kind of stopped paying attention to pop culture because they had young children to raise at an age that now feels completely ridiculous. I look back and like, what, Mum, you were 23.
Yeah.
That's what you by the time you're 25 you've got 2 kids and a mortgage. That's when I was 25 I was just functionally useless. But anyway, they were never particularly into music. I discovered like music was always something I kind of found myself, and yeah, I like the first artist I remember genuinely loving was Michael Jackson when I was really little. I think he probably quite liked me as well, which is the tragedy of the whole thing. But that. It will skim out where you kind of have to.
Yeah.
One of the problems with talking about Christmas number one, Christmas music, is that it's a story that involves Michael Jackson, Phil Spector, Rolf Harris, Gary Glitter, and Jimmy Savile, and you just have to kind of go, you know what? We'll just
park that.
We'll just park that.
It's unfortunate, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. But Michael Jackson, I completely fell in love with Bad and Thriller and Dangerous. And then in the early 90s, when I was sort of 11, 12 years old, someone gave me a Guns N' Roses tape, and that changed my life completely. And I remember listening to it on one of those big, like clunky tape decks at school that you can use as a tape recorder, the ones that look like the monolith out of 2001, with like crappy foam headphones in the school library. Somebody had given me a Guns N' Roses Use Illusion 2. I was 12 years old. Lunchtime, I used to hang out in the library at lunchtime. I was that kid, and listening to this Guns N' Roses tape, and it starts with Civil War, which is a very naff song but seemed like the most important piece of music I'd ever heard when I first heard it. And it's all very kind of ponderous and slow build, and then the guitar comes in on the chorus and it's this huge big heavy noise, and I just like that's the moment that changed my life. I was like, oh my god, I like rock music now. And then someone gave me Nirvana, and that changed everything again. And then I just kind of started reading. I literally cancelled my subscription to the Beano and got a subscription to Kerrang magazine on the same day in 1994.
That's a kid that knows what he's doing. He's found his niche in life.
Exactly, at 13 years old.
Yeah.
And then I used to read, and I'd read Melody Maker and Enemy, and I read everything, and I got every book I could find out about music, and you started connecting all the dots and listen to John Peel and the Evening Session, and just kind of, and the mid-90s was a really, really good, well, every time is a good time to get into music when you're 14, but the mid-90s especially, you've got the tail end of alternative rock, and I became obsessed with Smashing Pumpkins and Nirvana, and then you've got Britpop, and I got obsessed with Blur and Pulp, and through all of that, you follow the sort of trail back from where they got their influences from, and you discover punk, and you discover the Smiths, and you discover the Beatles. And the Beatles in the mid-90s were the most contemporary band in the country. Like the Beatles were massive in 1995. They're in the way that Oasis are massive in 2025. But 30 years later, weirdly, because that's how these cycles work. So the music obsession all kind of came crashing in there. And like I think the fact that I've got the trivia is just lives in my head, and I know so much, and it just constantly crammed in. Being somebody who writes books and comedy shows about music is literally the only job I could have. Like, I'm not suited for anything else. The only other person.
Pub quizzes. You would. You're very
quizzes.
suited for.
Yeah, as long as I can find someone else to do the sport rounds. But I kind of occasionally I see myself on the outside, because people are like, I occasionally see somebody will go, "How do you know all of this?" And I'll be like, "Well, I just picked it up." And then, but my partner Melanie's a historian. Like, she's an actual published historian. She writes books about history, and she knows that, and particularly the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries. Like, and I'll get her talking about something, and I go, "How do you know this?" Like, and I go, "Oh, hang on, this is how people feel when they're talking to me."
Yeah.
Except she's talking about something important.
I think they're both important.
Well, yeah, but she can tell you about Henry V, and I can tell you about Mr. Blobby, and I'm not quite sure which one of those is of more value. But
I think they're of equal value, definitely. It depends on what you favour, obviously, history or music. But the thing is, both of those things are linked anyway. As you said, the music is the history of its time anyway. So,
totally.
I suppose the equivalent in that era would be the top chart lute playing.
Well, I mean, actually, in the book, I go back that far.
I
wanted to. I start with the Rage Against the Machine and X Factor, the 2009 chart battle, because for me that's the thing that proves why it's important. It proves that people care. And then I rewind to Before the Birth of Christ, because I just wanted, there's a whole chapter of how we get. Because in order to understand why we've got a Christmas number one, you need to understand the relationship between music and Christmas, and then you need to talk about the relationship between the chart and music. So so I was like, what? My first thought was, what is the role that music has always played in Christmas? So I went into deep research mode. I was like, okay, Hark the Herald Angels Sing. There was music straight away.
Yeah.
There was a little drummer boy, apparently, which is the least appropriate person to turn up to play for a baby. It's like a kid with a drum. Go away. We've just got him down. And then you realize that Christmas is like super. The reason Christmas is celebrated in the midwinter is because the Catholic Church wanted to legitimize Christianity by bolting the birth of Christ, who wasn't, if at all, born in midwinter, but by bolting the birth of Christ to exist to a period where people already celebrated things. And every culture on earth has a midwinter celebration, a midwinter feast, a midwinter festival. So you bulk, and they always have music. They're parties. They're always huge parties. They're always raucous celebrations. Yeah. There's something about midwinter that makes people want to have the biggest party of the year. So by bolting the birth, I mean, it's not the biggest mistake the Catholic Church ever made by quite a long way, but it was quite a big mistake. By bolting the solemn occasion of the birth of Christ onto the biggest piss up of the year, what they made is Christmas, and music has always been part of that all the way through. There's I found a quote from a 9th century bishop, the 9th century Bishop of Arles. There are not enough comedians who use the phrase the 9th century Bishop of Arles.
No, you're just amazing. It's incredible. Come on, let's find out what the 9th Bishop of whatever said who.
It's a town. It's a city in France. He was trying to. This is the 9th century. He was an early Christian leader. He was trying to convert his flock and make them be spiritual and solemn at the passing of the year to mark the birth of Christ. And he said that they are too busy being impious in drunken raving.
Excellent. Nothing changes, does it?
No, exactly. That's exactly that. Like, the reason during the English Civil War, Oliver Cromwell tries to ban Christmas because it's irreligious, because it's a big party. And there's a famous song called "The World Turns Upside Down" that was published at the time that was about the banning of Christmas, which is referenced in Hamilton.
Is it?
To bring it up to date? So, like, Christmas music has always been part of it, and there are songs that we still sing that date back from that time. The earliest English language Christmas song is a drinking song. It's a song. It's a wassailing song. It's from the 14th century. It's called "Lord by Heaven, Hear My Toast," and it's literally the lyrics are like I'm having a drink. Why, hey, that's it. Like, there's a carol called, one of the earliest carols is called the Boar's Head Carol. It's about eating. We like all this music, like British Christmas music has always been party music, and British Christmas time has always been rebellious and riotous, and
that's why every other country hates us.
Basically, yeah. Essentially, we ruined it for everybody. So yeah, there is a social history element to all this, but there always is. All music is like that. I wrote a book about David Bowie and Mark Bolan's friendship in the 1960s, before they were famous,
And
and
what's that book called?
it's called the London Boys
Oh,
because
nice.
they met as teenagers, and before they're glam rock superstars, both of them are like meeting up all the time to chat about their careers. But they're both they both try and be like beat group bands, like Beatlesy beat group bands. They both try and be rock and roll idols. They both try and be blues singers. Then they both become hippies. And if you follow their career through the 60s, you get all of the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You get all the fashion. You get all the sexuality. You get all, and the free love. You get all of the patterns and the changes in music, and the way that culture is changing through the 60s. You can follow all of it just by following the story of these two like young 20-something guys who are gonna change the world, but not for another 5 years.
Yeah.
And but I loved writing it because it wasn't just the story of them and their background. It was the story of 60s London, and I you can do
That's
all
a
that.
really
I did it
nice
just
angle as well, isn't it? Because there's been so much written, obviously, about the 60s, but that as an angle is it's just great, isn't it? Because it's two of the most popular people that we know, musicians at that time. One died tragically, and the other one went on to just be basically the best pop star that's probably ever lived. And the way he died and left us behind the gift of music as a posthumous thing as well. So to have a book that's set in that time and talks about the 60s, but from their perspective and from a musical perspective, I can't think of another book like that.
Yeah, that was why I wanted to write it. When I
Yeah.
pitched it, my publisher was like, "Well, can't you just write a biography of David Bowie and then a
No.
biography of Mark Bolan?" I was like, "No, there's loads of those.
Yeah,
I,
exactly.
I haven't got anything new to say there." Whereas this is a story one of the lessons I've learned about writing books, and it's a little bit like doing stand-up shows as well, is don't write something that already exists. And
Good
like
tip.
no one has written the history of the Christmas number one as a serious music book before. Like there are a
No.
couple of books that just sort of have trivia in them, but and no one had written that book about David Bowie and Mark Bolan. The first book I did was a biography of Terry Pratchett. No one had written a biography of Terry Pratchett until I did, which is still I find baffling. There's two now, but when I wrote it, no one else had. And the one time I broke that rule, I did I wrote a biography of Nirvana last year. And it was kind of a passion project just because they're one of my favorite bands, and I think they're one of the most important bands there's ever been. And it's my worst selling book, and it's a good biography of Nirvana. It
But it's in
really
a
is, and I'm
sea of
really proud
others.
of it. But yeah, I'm not sure. In retrospect, I'm not sure if you don't know about me and you've not seen and you don't know, you're not looking for my book Nirvana book, you're just looking for a book about Nirvana. I don't know why you would, out of the sea of them, fall upon mine.
Yeah.
Just from scanning the covers in the shop. And so it was a really important lesson. Don't write books that already exist.
Yeah. And I think also it's interesting that you have to kind of almost fight your own corner for your own voice, because like you said, the publishers are just like, we'll just do a David Bowie one and a Mark Bolan one. And that's how they look at it. And it's so simplistic and so narrow minded, because the whole point, I think, about anything that is created by artists, if that's art or books or shows or theatre or whatever, is the perspective from that person, is having the individual voice. And it's just so important to go, if I was a publisher, I'd go, oh my God, like I just said, that's an amazing angle. No one's done that before. Let's give him as much money as he wants to get that done or whatever.
Oh, I mean, if only they did.
Yeah, sure.
But it's finding the right publisher to work with.
Yeah.
I'm working with a different publisher for the Christmas book, and they were really excited about the idea. They were a bit sort of. It is a bit of a risk because it's a book that has a very, very limited sort of period where people are interested in it, which is why I'm working so hard at the minute.
But is it though? Because it's like sorry to interrupt you, but is it though? Because it's like a Christmas number one. Yes, it's only at that time, but it's forever now, Mark.
Yeah, well, that's it. And I'm hoping to come back. I'm already sort of planning what I'm going to do with it next year.
Yes.
And like maybe do a proper, because at the minute I'm doing a book tour at the minute. I'm just going around bookshops. I've never done a book tour before. So I wrote a sort of short, a sort of stand-up lecture because that's all I know how to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, and now I realise that there is probably a show in this.
Yes.
And maybe that's what I do this time next year. And I actually do it as an art centre tour.
Yes.
And make it more of a more of a thing. So yeah, but you're right. It can come around again every single year as long as I can keep it in print. But it does. But the publishers were like, yeah, it's going to be difficult to get you into bookshops because they don't tend to do much in December, and you know we've only really got 2 months where people are going to be interested in it, and they're
Oh, they're
right.
so
But
optimistic, aren't they?
yeah, but no, well, they were just being realistic. You know,
Yes, but
and
still.
they went for it. They did go for it. Like I was able to talk them round to it, which I think may be more to do with getting me to shut up than anything else. But which, as you might have noticed, is quite difficult to do. But you know, it worked, and the book existed. It seems to be doing well, and people really like it. It's had some great reviews and stuff. So
Well, it's an amazing listeners. I will have this edited in time, obviously for Christmas, as it's the last Real Folk of this year, 2025. It is the perfect Christmas gift. I mean, what could be better for anyone in your life, whether they are specialist musicians or even interested? Everybody loves Christmas and a tale about Christmas, and this is something completely different. You know they won't have it for sure, and B, it's wildly entertaining. C, I imagine you could use it a little bit like a Christmas quiz on Christmas
oh
Day.
yeah,
So
you could you can absolutely pull a really solid quiz out of this book.
there you go.
There is a lot of trivia. I've done some really deep research with this. Like I spent ages going through old music magazines in the 70s and stuff. Like there's a gold mine of absolutely pointless trivia in this book, which I love. That's what I want in a book.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the gift that just keeps giving. You can bring that out every year, do a bit more of it. It sounds like, how many pages is the book? Because it sounds like it must be enormous.
Hang on, I'll tell you.
Oh, he's got it.
275 pages, although the page 275 is the about the author page.
Oh, right.
So that doesn't really.
Ignore that
274 pages.
274 pages of Christmas music, facts, and interesting things about society.
In quite a small font.
Tiny font. Get your glasses out, people. Get your glasses.
Get it on Kindle. It's fine. But yeah, that's the book. And that's what I do. It's like I always try and find something. There's always a story underneath the story. That's what I've kind of learned. I kind of learned that from Terry Pratchett, who's my favorite author, who I wrote a book about, and then I wrote a show about him.
Did you get to spend any time with him ever, or talk to him?
I didn't. Unfortunately, he was too dead by the time that I dropped.
Right. Okay. I wondered if you had a chance to catch up with him prior.
Sadly. Well, the weird thing is, though, because I've been doing it as a tour. Last 2 years I've been touring this stand-up show about Terry Pratchett's life, which as I said, like it's always about the story underneath the story. Like it's ostensibly a book about a show about Terry Pratchett's life, but what it really is a show about the power of storytelling. And you don't need to know anything about Terry Pratchett. You don't even need to particularly like Terry Pratchett in order to engage with the show. And the same with everything I write about. There's always something underneath that is deeper than. I did that with Britpop with my show in Edinburgh this year. Is that actually it was about a time and a place in Britain and why it was important, rather than just about bands. Anyway, yeah, I go around. It's quite common for me to arrive at the venue and sort of start setting up, and somebody in the venue staff will be going, "Oh, is he coming today? Is Terry going to be here?" And I've got some really bad news.
Yeah, it's a little bit under the weather.
I'm really sorry. I mean, it would be amazing if he did.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was just thinking, because I know obviously you don't write about anything you're not a huge fan of, so I thought maybe you'd had the chance to, I don't know, go to a book signing and see.
I always resisted it because I was a little bit nervous, but also there's something about being a journalist that makes you a tiny bit entitled about meeting famous people. And you're like, oh, I don't really want to go and line up and get a book signed, because at some point I want to sit down and do an interview and get to ask him all the questions I want to ask. And I always assumed that would happen one day, and it never did. I actually missed out on my chance to meet him. I had a chance to meet him, and I didn't. I got my mate Dan Schreiber, who does No Such Thing as a Fish podcast and stuff. I used to work with him, and he was working on he created a BBC Radio 4 show called The Museum of Curiosity, which was brilliant, presented by John Lloyd, who created Blackadder and Not the 9 O'Clock News and stuff, and QI. And they had celebrities and comedians and people on who bequeathed an object to an imaginary museum. And it's really fascinating. I'd been to loads of the recordings because I knew Dan, and it was live at the BBC. And I always end up in the pub afterwards with the guests, like without fail. And they had Terry Pratchett on. and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get to meet Terry Pratchett. And I was ill and I didn't go. And I was like, and I thought, because he, at this point, his Alzheimer's was very much progressing. And I thought, well, he's famously not well. He's not going to go to the pub. I probably won't get to meet him anyway. It's
And he
fine.
did.
Yeah, it turns out that him, Dan, and his assistant and Terry's assistant were the last people to be thrown out of the pub
Good for
that night.
him. I love
And
that.
and I would have been there. I would have been there till the bitter end.
Of course.
And so I find that really weird because I've become such a part of the last 5 years. I've become like such a part of the sort of Terry Pratchett community, if that makes sense. Which I was
Have
never
they
really.
sort of embraced you, his fans and the book?
Yeah, really have. Like
Oh,
like the
amazing.
show has sold incredibly well. Like we've done like 20,000 tickets over
Whoa.
2.5 years. Like 2 Edinburgh runs. I've done the Adelaide Fringe, and like the book I wrote was unofficial, but like because they felt that the estate was a bit wary about it coming out because they were
Right.
like, oh, what's he going to say? But after it came out, his estate got in touch with me to thank me for it, and
How lovely is
and
that?
and then I ended up working, and then they basically they helped me develop the show, and they funded the show. They
Oh, well,
funded
that's
my Edinburgh.
amazing. And you know what? That's so well deserved, Mark, because I mean, anyone that meets you or speaks to you would, and I'm sure as soon as they read the book, they would see you for what you are, which is just an utter fan of, you just love whatever you love, and you would only ever do something with love about that. So,
Yeah,
of course, anyone
completely.
is going to take you to their heart and want to support you for doing that. So, but I mean, well done. That's huge. It must feel so nice as well to be supported
Yeah,
like that.
it does. It makes me even sadder about missing out on meeting Terry because now I'm kind of I like his assistant who runs the business is now one of my best friends, and I sort of I'm involved, and it's sort of really weird to have become involved in it all, but the after
After losing him. Yeah.
the principal player has left the building, which is weird. But
Yeah.
but the two things that have inform how I think about the world are the bands I listened to in the 90s and reading Terry Pratchett. So I've kind of like and then comedy and the comedy I listened to in the night and watched in the 90s, and sort of being able to kind of create this weird career that
I know we have
batches
to
it.
use that term loosely
Well,
in the creative
I got
industry.
I got a review this. I moan about this all the time, but my Edinburgh show this year was really well reviewed. It got like really like 4 and 5 star reviews almost across the board, except for one. I got one bad review, just one, and it said Burrows has made a career out of remembering the music of the past. That was the
Fuck off.
like so snide, like yeah, like really snide. So what I've done is I now in order to sort of claim that back, I now say that on
Incorporate
stage
it.
with. Yeah, I just say yeah. What I did is I sent that review to my dad with the word career underlined, which is sort of true. Like trying to convince my dad that what I do is actually a job is an
It's
ongoing
legitimate.
process.
I know my family too. They're like, when are you going to do something properly? And I'm like, no, this is me. This is me. This is what I do.
Like trying to, I'd say you go, oh, you did well out of Edinburgh then. Like, I did well, yeah, I did well. Oh, you're gonna get a lot of money out of that then? No,
No,
no, of course not. That'd be ridiculous. Like,
but I had a
if I
really
make it,
fabulous time, and so did
yeah.
like 20,000 other people.
Yeah, the tour makes money, so that's
Yeah.
kind of where it comes back. But it's like, yeah, well, oh, you're doing all these bookshops. Are they paying you? No, they don't pay me anything.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Why are you
but
doing it then? Well,
it's so your family are obviously absolutely similar to mine, and I think it's because you mentioned earlier yours are working class, and I always go on about I'm from a working class background, so it just doesn't compute that anyone could do this nonsense for a living. It just will never. I'm 53 and have been doing it for about 25 years now, and still they always just think that it's a fad, or I'm going to go and get a proper job at some point or do something different. And it's like,
I think it's because I'm not famous, right? I think if I was famous, he'd
Yes.
understand.
Yes.
Because you got it in your head that he's got it. He understands the concept of being a famous comedian. But I'm not famous, and I'm not likely to become so, right? I'm never going to be I'm probably not going to be a famous comedian. I'm not like, but I do all right. Like I write books, I do shows, I work as a journalist, and I make a living out of all of those things if you add them all together, just about. And I think he can't get his head around the idea it. It's not a hobby, but I'm not famous. So how on earth is that? How does that work?
How does it work? Okay, yeah. Exactly.
And why would you do it? And also, why do you work so hard? And then once he realizes that that actually involves loads of really hard work, the next question is always why.
Yeah.
Like if it's just messing about, he could understand it. But it's like working really hard, ridiculous amounts of travel, incredible amounts of stress, and not a small amount of spending your own money. Trying to explain to my parents why I do that is an ongoing thing from my dad's pronouncements from his caravan in Spain where he lives.
Oh right, nice. He's in sunny Spain. That's nice.
Oh, it's the lorry driver's dream.
Oh,
you retire to Spain. You retire to Spain, where he now works as an odd job man and a cabbie.
Nice. In the sunshine, sounds good.
In the sunshine, where he's being slowly baked to teak.
A nice shade of mahogany.
Yeah, he's a rich mahogany colour now, my dad.
Oh, nice. Who will never understand his son's profession fully, but never mind. You have to humour them, don't you? I mean, I get that they don't understand it. It's a bit frustrating, isn't it? I think they can't just shut up about it and just go, oh, that's lovely, and just not keep going. Because I get the whys all the time.
He's proud of it. I'm pretty sure he's proud of me for it. But and I send him my books. I don't think he's read any of them, but But he does own a copy of each of them. Like I sent him a copy of all the albums I made with my band. I don't think he's listened to them, but he knows that they exist and that people have come to see me do these things.
Yes.
And so I think it just. We just hope. But then, mind you, Terry Pratchett, to bring it back to him, his assistant told me that they went to his house when when his parents were moving house. He's basically said, "Come over here." Took down his own book off the shelf and went, "Look, not even cracked the spine."
Oh, bless. See, so it's happened to greater people. So you just have to grin and bear it like everyone else does.
He was able to buy his parents a house in affluent Hay on Wye, and I've not quite been able to do that.
No, and I would like to have been able to do that for my mum as well. But you often, I think, when you go into all this sort of stuff, you think actually, if you ever did make it, what would you do? And it's like, I would love to be able to sort all my family out with nice places to live and stuff. But
I can upgrade my dad to a better static caravan, certainly.
Well, there you go. It's something, isn't it?
I'd love to do that.
I'm probably a tent version. But talking about tents, which is nothing to do with what I'm about to tell you. We have 2 minutes left on this timer. Do you need to rush off? Do we need to finish now, or can we log back on?
I probably do need to rush off.
So we are going to have had a short but sweet Real Folk, ladies and gents. I hope you've really bloody enjoyed it. Marc Burrows is a phenomenon that even his family don't understand. So I suggest you go out and have a look at his website. What's your website, Marc?
marcburrows.co.uk.
Marc
with a
Burrows,
C.
Marc with a C, that's the important thing. Marc with a C, burrows.co.uk, where you can purchase all his books, his catalogue of books, and his partners as well, I believe, are on there.
Yep, because she's too lazy to set up her own web store.
There, good, well done. Why do unnecessary work, Melanie? Is it Melanie?
It is Melanie.
Yeah. I'm on your side. And before we get shut off in 1 minute precisely, where's your next tour, and what's your next in-person thing that you're doing?
So I'm doing book events until the end of the year. The last one is December the 18th in Camden, which will be with a full live band. And then I'm on tour with my show, The Britpop Hour, in March, May, June.
Check his website out. All the info is there. Thank you so much, Marc Burrows. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Yay! Buy the book, Mistletoe and Vinyl, out now. Thank you, Marc. You've been amazing.
No,
I'll edit that and
sorry for rushing.
It's okay. And I'll give you, can you send me a photo that I can add? Because each one of these has a photo on. Perfecto. Yeah, totally. Thank you so much. Have fun. Have a wonderful Christmas.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Real Folk with me, Jo Burke.